Absolutely, man. Time right now is 17 minutes after the top of the hour. It is the Morning Hustle. On the line, man, we have Charles Angry Adams on the line. And my brother's been a lawyer, which is what he's doing right now. He's been a judge. He's been a police officer. So he completely understands all aspects of everything that's going on right now. Good morning, my brother.
Hey, how are you, sir?
Man, can't complain. Well, actually, we can't complain, and we are complaining. There's a lot of things going on, man, and this is the second time we had you on in 2 weeks, and thank you for pulling up on us again. From every aspect of what you've done in the various, positions of law enforcement, from the judicial system, and even being a lawyer, what went wrong? What needs to be improved, and how can we make the changes that are needed?
Well, we had a shift after I was an officer in the late 90s, early 2000s, away from use of force for public safety towards use of force to make sure the officer goes home safely, which I think is completely the wrong analysis because it is a dangerous job. This whole issue, had he shot him when he took the taser from him, but they were still fighting, I don't think you have a question that it posed a danger and it would be a legal shooting. But he didn't, right? He shot him after he ran away. And then the question is, does the fact they turned around to shoot him with the taser or to deploy the taser at him, does that create a legal right to shoot him? Now, getting past the legal right, does it create something you can live with? Like, as an officer, I was probably in, 24 incidents where you could legally shoot someone, and I never did and never considered it. I wasn't trying to kill people. And obviously there are officers out there that look forward to the opportunity, and there are officers out there that are horrified by it. But it's going to be a very close legal issue whether or not deploying the taser in the officer's direction created a legal, not a morally defensible, but a legal reason or justifiable reason to shoot him. And I don't know the answer to that under our current jurisprudence, which is what would a reasonable officer do in the heat of the moment in that perspective? And that all emerged in the 80s from some Supreme Court cases. But would I shoot the guy? No. There's no way that he poses a danger after he misses the shot with the taser. The taser's been deployed. I don't know. It's really a heartbreaking situation.
Yeah, Big Angry. I wanted to bring that up. Tennessee versus Gardner, which is what Attorney Griggs discussed with us earlier, that the NAACP is going down to Georgia to fight about or to protest about. And we've had people call in that basically saying it's justified because he resisted arrest. And people don't realize that in Tennessee versus Garner, the Supreme Court held that under the Fourth Amendment, with a law enforcement officer is pursuing a fleeing suspect, the officer may not use deadly force to prevent escape unless the officer has probable cause. As you were saying, can you speak a little bit to the fact that it's not necessarily justifiable if a person tries to run?
Oh, it's almost never justifiable when a person decides to run. And it's not justifiable when you're resisting arrest. And of course, that was the narrative they tried to force on George Floyd. And like the Breonna Taylor situation, yes, her boyfriend shot back, but everyone agrees, except the cops without body cams, that they announced it. The neighbor said, we didn't hear anything, they just kicked the door. Breonna Taylor's clear-cut murder. The fact that there hasn't been charges in that, despite them passing ordinances and laws in her name, is insane. Here, so if they would have shot him while he was just whooping them, right, that's completely illegal. Right. Like, when I was an officer, I didn't carry spray, I didn't carry a baton, I didn't carry a taser. It was just a gun, a little gun, and a knife, and that was it, and we would tussle with people. I never came close to shooting. I had a guy try to put a knife in my chest, and we just fought till I got the knife. It's just different now. There is a rush to use deadly force that I don't understand. But anyone running away, unless they're posing some sort of true violent threat immediately to someone else, no, you can't shoot them. That's murder. Here, the question is, was that taser use enough to justify him pulling the trigger? And that's going to be a very, very close legal issue. And it's just another tragedy. Now, there's so many things that should have happened differently. I would commend the officer. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Angry, I gotta ask you a question. Do you feel like there was possibly any frustration from those two officers being basically manhandled in the situation, and that might have caused maybe the frustration for maybe wanting to shoot him then from losing that physical altercation?
It could be a million different things, right? First of all, the second officer that didn't pull the trigger, he honestly didn't do anything wrong, right? Rayshard did start the tussle, and the officers were very polite to him up until he decided he didn't want to get arrested, and it became a physical altercation. The second officer didn't pull his trigger. He was just chasing, okay? So then you look at the officer that did pull the trigger. Was he angry? We don't know. Was that decision made solely based on him turning around and pulling the trigger on the taser? We don't know. Had the officer just shot him in the back, no question, murder. Him turning around, I don't know. Like, I would have never, it wouldn't even have occurred to me to shoot him, because if you watch the video, he didn't even have his gun out until he shot the taser. Then he took his gun out and shot him. At that moment, you know that the taser is only useful to him if they're up close, it's very rare to have a two-shot taser, right? So unless they were back on the ground fighting and he pressed the taser to him, that's the only way he has any capability with it at that point. The whole thing is it's just a tragedy. I do think it'll be much closer. That you have one side on the pro-police saying, oh, he deserved it, which no one deserves to get shot down in the street when they're not trying to kill someone themselves, right? On the other side, you have the argument that it's all completely the police. And then, like most things, it's the gray area. And what's most telling about this, too, is you also have everyone condemning the movement because of the burning of the Wendy's. Watch the video. It's a white woman in a mask burning the Wendy's. Once again, you have a provocateur trying to usurp the narrative of change. It's the whole thing's just a.
Yo, Mr. Angry, we appreciate you hitting us up, man. We got to go to break, man. But, yo, Charles Angry Adams, you're welcome anytime, man. Appreciate the insight and the information. And if people want to find you, where do they go?
It's at Big Angry Law on Twitter and Instagram, and they can check out my wife's podcast, Clouston, that I co-host with her. It's a great true crime podcast based here in Houston.
We are the Morning Hustle.